Across the wide galaxy, there were many stories, many legends, and many lies. But one rumor refused to die. It traveled through trading stations, pirate networks, military channels, and even through peaceful colonies. Everyone had heard it at least once. There is a mini army out there, tiny soldiers who fight like giants. Most aliens laughed when they heard it. Some thought it was a joke created by smugglers. Others believed it was a childish story told to scare new recruits. An army so small that you could miss it if you blinked? How ridiculous. But still, the rumor continued to grow. Even the great Zorthan Empire could not ignore it anymore. Their war council, filled with huge reptilian generals, argued loudly inside the Imperial Hall. The hall was a place where the walls were carved with victories of past generals, and the air always smelled of cold metal and old blood. General Thrakul, one of the oldest commanders, slammed his heavy fist on the table. Enough. Every border station is reporting the same thing. Something is happening in the Midrim. Fleets are disappearing. Patrols are vanishing without distress calls. And every survivor speaks of tiny soldiers. The other generals broke into laughter. What next? One of them joked. Are we going to lose a battle against insects? Another hissed, maybe a group of children is attacking us. But Thrakul did not smile. His eyes remained cold. Mock it all you want. But we have lost 3 patrol fleets in the last 2 cycles. That made the room fall silent. The Zorthan Empire was not weak. Their fleets controlled half of the galaxy. Their soldiers stood 3 meters tall and wore armor thicker than a starship hull. For them to lose any fleet was unusual. For them to lose 3 was almost impossible. The first strategist slowly leaned forward. What do the reports say? General Thrakul activated a holoscreen. A shaky video appeared. It showed a dark battlefield. Part of a destroyed cruiser burned in the background. The recording came from the helmet of a Zorthan soldier, the last survivor. On the shaky screen, small shadows moved fast between broken metal and smoke. They were short, too short to be adult aliens. They carried weapons that glowed faint blue. The camera zoomed in unwillingly as the soldier crawled backward. One of the tiny figures jumped onto a fallen war machine, and its armored suit reflected the firelight. The figure moved with sharp confidence, raising a weapon that looked far too big for its size. A bright flash. The video ended. The generals stared at the blank screen in disbelief. That thing was no more than 1 meter tall, whispered one of them. Impossible, another hissed. A child cannot destroy one of our cruisers. They were not children, Thrakul said slowly. Every survivor report says the same thing. They moved like trained soldiers. They used formations. They used tactics. They were extremely disciplined. And their weapons? A general asked. No idea, Thrakul admitted. Not even our scientists recognized the energy readings. The room fell silent again. Finally, the first strategist spoke. Where did this tiny army come from? On the other side of the galaxy, far from imperial halls and giant lizard generals, life on the peaceful station of Vanna 12 continued as usual. Merchants shouted prices. Miners carried ore. Robots cleaned the floors. But even here, the same rumor whispered through the air. A group of traders sat around a glowing table. I swear on my ship, one said, I saw an entire platoon of these mini soldiers. They were no taller than my waist. His friend laughed. Maybe you were drunk. I was not drunk, the trader snapped. They boarded a pirate cruiser near the Helix Belt. Destroyed every defense drone in seconds. Then they left like ghosts. Another trader leaned in closer. What species were they? No idea. Their armor hid their faces. At the other end of the station, a group of security officers listened to a frightened miner. I saw them, the miner insisted. A whole group, running across the surface of the asteroid. They moved so fast. Too fast for any normal species. Small pirates, an officer guessed. The miner shook his head. No. They weren't pirates. They were soldiers. Perfect, silent soldiers. Even the children of Vanna 12 talked about the rumor. I heard the mini army can jump across a whole canyon. I heard they can take down a tank with one shot. I heard they are invisible. The adults ignored their chatter, but deep inside, even they were uneasy. Back in the Zorthan Empire, the War Council finally made a decision. We cannot ignore this any longer, the first strategist announced. We will send the Sky Reaver fleet to investigate. They will locate this mini army and crush it. General Thrakul felt a strange chill run through his scales. Sending the Sky Reaver fleet meant the Empire was truly worried. The fleet was famous across the galaxy. They had crushed rebellions, destroyed pirate nations, and even survived a fight with a living nebula. Their ships were massive, heavily armed, and commanded by Admiral Vieroth, a legend among warriors. If anyone could find the truth, it was him. The fleet launched within the hour. Their engines lit the night sky over the capital world. Entire cities stopped to watch the glowing trails rise into space. 3 days later, the last message from the Sky Reaver fleet arrived. It was a short distress signal, just 6 seconds long. Static. Screams. Then a small voice, calm and steady. We warned you. Do not approach again. After that, silence. Millions of citizens across the Zorthan Empire felt fear they had never known before. Everyone wanted to know. Who were these tiny soldiers? How did they destroy one of the strongest fleets in the galaxy? And why did they sound so calm? The rumor now became something more. Not a joke. Not a story. Not a warning. It became the biggest mystery in the galaxy. Everyone had laughed at the tiny army before. But now, no one was laughing. The disappearance of the Sky Reaver fleet spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Entire systems panicked. Military stations activated emergency protocols. Merchants cancelled flights. Pirate groups went silent. Everyone knew what the Reaver fleet represented: strength, power, and fear. And now that same fleet had vanished in less than a day. No one dared laugh at the rumor anymore. The Zorthan Empire tried to maintain control, but even their strongest generals could feel the morale of the people slipping. For the first time in centuries, fear had entered the heart of an empire built on domination. The High Council ordered a new investigation. This time, they would not send a full military fleet. They needed answers, not war. So they prepared a smaller, more cautious group, 5 scout ships, each filled with experienced officers and expert scientists. Their mission was simple: observe, identify, and survive. The scout team was led by Commander Ralek, a calm but sharp-minded officer known for his ability to stay level-headed under pressure. His tall, fur-covered species, the Torvak, were famous for their discipline and intelligence. Unlike the Zorthan generals, Ralek did not laugh at the rumor. He believed every story had a seed of truth. Inside the lead scout ship, Ralek stood before his crew. The lights flickered softly, reflecting on the metallic walls. "We are not here to conquer," he said in a steady voice. "We are here to learn. Whatever destroyed the Reaver fleet is not a simple enemy. Treat this mission with respect." His crew nodded, though many felt tension in their chest. Stories of tiny soldiers had already filled their minds. Some crew members imagined small robotic drones. Others imagined strange alien creatures with powerful technology. No one imagined what they were truly about to face. After 3 days of travel through quiet space, the scout fleet reached the coordinates where the Reaver fleet was last seen. What they found was shocking. The area was filled with silent debris, broken metal pieces, drifting armor plates, and shattered hull fragments. Massive ships, once mighty symbols of imperial strength, now floated like dead leaves in the void. Several officers gasped. "By the stars, the Reaver fleet is gone." Commander Ralek narrowed his eyes. No reactor burns. No blast marks. No energy streaks. This wasn't a large-scale battle. "So what happened?" asked one officer. Ralek studied the debris carefully. Precision. Whoever did this, used very precise attacks. They didn't destroy the fleet, they dismantled it. A quiet murmur spread across the room. The idea was terrifying. It was one thing to defeat a fleet. It was another thing to take it apart piece by piece. Before fear could settle in, the ship's radar began to beep. "Commander! Unknown signals approaching." Everyone held their breath as the screen flickered to life. Small blips appeared, tiny signatures, far smaller than any fighter or drone they had ever encountered. "How small are those ships?" an officer whispered. "Smaller than escape pods," replied the radar technician. "Almost human-sized." Commander Ralek frowned. "Humans? That species is extinct." The small objects moved swiftly, surrounding the scout fleet with smooth, calculated patterns. They did not fire. They did not rush. They simply held positions like experienced soldiers. "Open a channel," Ralek ordered. A moment later, a calm voice came through the speakers, soft, clear, and unmistakably human. "Identify yourselves." The crew looked at one another in disbelief. "Humans? Here? Alive?" Ralek stepped forward. "This is Commander Ralek of the Torvak people. We are on a scientific mission. We mean no harm. The voice replied calmly, then power down your weapons. Ralek hesitated for only a second. Do it. The scout ships powered down their weapons. The tiny objects slowly drifted closer, revealing their true form. They were not ships. They were armored suits, humanoid suits no larger than a meter tall. They hovered smoothly through space as if gravity meant nothing to them. One of them approached the main viewing window of Ralek's ship. Its armor was dark, polished, and covered with glowing lines that shifted like gentle currents. A visor covered its face, hiding its identity. Ralek felt a chill crawl up his spine. This is the mini-army, he whispered. The armored figure spoke again, its voice amplified through external speakers. You have entered restricted space. Turn back. Ralek lifted his chin. We are only here to understand what happened to the Sky Reaver fleet. The armored figure did not move. They were warned. Ralek tried again. We do not wish for conflict. Then leave, the voice repeated. But Ralek wasn't ready to turn back. His scientific curiosity burned stronger than his fear. I request to speak with your commander, he said. A long silence followed. The crew waited, breath held, heartbeats loud. Finally, the figure tilted its head slightly. Very well. Follow us. The scout fleet followed the tiny armored suits through a small asteroid field until a planet came into view. It was not large, not advanced looking. It had blue oceans, green lands, and simple structures visible from orbit. Nothing about it suggested it held the power to destroy entire fleets. That looks like a developing world, someone said. A primitive world, another whispered. Ralek studied the readings. Yet something about it is hidden. There is energy under the surface. A lot of it. The scout ships landed on a flat plateau near a simple building made of stone and metal. As ramps lowered, Ralek and his team stepped onto the ground. A group of the tiny armored soldiers awaited them. One soldier walked forward and removed its helmet. And the entire crew froze. The face was unmistakable. Human. Pale skin, sharp eyes, calm expression. A species believed to be extinct, now standing right in front of them. Ralek stared in shock. Humans, you survived. The human nodded slightly. Survival is what we do best. Ralek gathered himself. We came looking for answers. You want to know about the Reaver fleet? Yes, Ralek said quietly. The human's calm expression didn't change. They attacked us. We defended ourselves. That is all. Ralek swallowed. But they were one of the strongest fleets in the galaxy. And we told them to leave. The tone was simple, not prideful, not aggressive, just a fact. Ralek took a deep breath. Who are you? And why are your soldiers so small? The human smiled slightly. Follow me. I will show you. They entered the building. The interior glowed with a warm golden light. Screens displayed diagrams, maps, and data. It looked like a command center disguised as a simple outpost. The human turned toward them. We are the last human colony. And your empire has no idea what humans truly are. He tapped a panel. Images appeared, soldiers training, armored suits being constructed, small but incredibly powerful. Our size is a choice, the human said. Efficiency, mobility, and speed. A new evolution of warfare. Ralek felt his heart tremble. This was not a tiny army. This was something far more dangerous. This was humanity, reborn, refined, and ready. The truth was clear now. The galaxy had underestimated humans. And now, it was too late to laugh. Commander Ralek stood quietly inside the human outpost, surrounded by glowing screens and soft mechanical hums. His crew followed behind him, tense but curious. None of them knew what to expect from the humans, an extinct species that now stood before them with strange armor and unimaginable confidence. The human commander, a middle-aged man with sharp eyes and calm expression, walked ahead of them. His steps were quiet, but steady. He had the aura of someone who had survived things that would break most beings. Come, he said, gesturing toward a circular chamber deeper in the building. You wanted answers. This is where your understanding begins. Ralek exchanged a quick glance with his officers before stepping inside. The chamber doors slid shut behind them with a soft hiss. The room darkened for a moment, then exploded into warm blue light as holograms appeared in the air. Soldiers training, ships flying, energy readings, battle formations, maps of unknown regions, and strange symbols. Ralek felt the hair on his neck rise. This was not primitive. This was technology far beyond what the Zorthan Empire believed humans were capable of. The human commander stepped forward and tapped a floating screen. The image changed to show a line of small armored soldiers, each not taller than 1 meter, each perfectly still, each carrying a weapon glowing faint blue. "These are the units you call the mini-army," he said. Ralek studied them closely. "They look mechanical. Part machine, part organic." 100% organic, the human commander corrected. "Just wearing extremely advanced exosuits." A quiet gasp spread through the alien crew. Ralek tilted his head. "Humans inside those suits? Humans that small?" The commander gave a faint smile. "No. The suits make us appear smaller. They compress mass, enhance our strength, accelerate movement, and amplify reaction time." He paused, letting the information settle. Ralek felt a wave of disbelief wash over him. Compression technology at that scale was considered impossible by most species. Dangerous. Unstable. Fatal. The human continued calmly. "The galaxy always assumed humans were weak, primitive, emotional, and aggressive. That assumption kept us safe, until the Reaver fleet arrived." Ralek took a deep breath, then asked the question everyone feared. "What exactly happened to the Reaver fleet?" The human commander did not hesitate. "They violated our border. We gave them 3 warnings. They fired first." He tapped the screen again. The hologram changed to the battlefield where the Reaver fleet fell. Small blue dots, humans, moved with impossible speed through the debris. Massive Reaver ships tried to track them but failed again and again. "They underestimated us," the commander said. "And that was their last mistake." Ralek watched in silence as the scene showed a single human unit jumping onto a cruiser, slicing open its control node, and escaping before it exploded. "How many soldiers did you deploy?" Ralek whispered. The human commander answered softly. 20. Ralek's eyes widened. The Reaver fleet had thousands of soldiers, dozens of cruisers, and enormous carriers. 20 humans had dismantled it. The alien officer stepped back, shocked and pale. The human commander continued, "We do not seek war. We do not desire territory. Our technology exists for survival, not conquest. The galaxy forgets humans were explorers long before most species built their first starship." He paused, his tone darkening slightly. "But the galaxy also forgets we were fighters long before that." Ralek needed answers, real ones, deeper ones. "Tell me," he said carefully, "how did your people survive extinction? The records say your species fell hundreds of years ago." The human commander nodded. "That story is mostly true. We nearly fell. Not because of war, but because of ourselves. Pollution, disease, resource collapse, humanity tore its own world apart." He raised his hand, and the hologram shifted to scenes of a dying human planet. Broken cities, empty oceans, toxic air. "But we adapted," he said. "Humans always adapt. We left our world before it completely collapsed. Only a small number survived the escape. This colony is the last seed of humanity." Ralek understood the pain behind those words. He had seen many worlds fall. "And your soldiers?" Ralek asked softly. "Why make them so small?" The commander smiled, but it was the tired smile of someone who had carried a long burden. "Because survival requires efficiency. Large armies drain resources. Big bodies need more oxygen, more food, more support." He gestured to the small armored figures on a nearby platform. "A soldier that is fast, small, powerful, and energy efficient can survive anywhere. Even on a dead world, like ours." Ralek could feel respect growing in his heart. These humans were not monsters. They were survivors, pushed to the edge, forced to rebuild from almost nothing. But there was something else beneath their calm exterior. Something ancient. Something dangerous. Something the galaxy had forgotten. Human determination. The human commander motioned toward a window. "Come. There is something else I want you to see." Ralek and his officers followed him to a large observation deck overlooking the valley. What they saw made them freeze. Hundreds of tiny armored soldiers trained in perfect synchrony. They ran in formation, jumped across obstacle courses, practiced combat drills, fired weapons, and moved like one connected mind. Ralek whispered, "This is a small army." The commander nodded slowly. "Small in size," he said. "Not in strength." One of the alien scientists observed the soldiers keenly. "Their movements are too perfect. Too coordinated. Are they enhanced?" The human nodded. "Yes. Our Neuralink technology allows us to think and respond faster than any organic species known. A single squad reacts 7 times faster than an elite alien unit. The aliens stared in silent awe. Ralek finally spoke. Your people are powerful, but why hide? Why not rejoin the galaxy openly? The commander's expression hardened. Because the galaxy is not ready. And because the galaxy does not tolerate things it fears. Ralek understood. The galaxy feared strength. Anything powerful became a target. Humanity had hidden for its own safety, and possibly for the galaxy's safety too. The commander turned to him. You came seeking answers. Now you have them. But there is one truth you still do not understand. Ralek swallowed. And what is that? The human stepped closer, his eyes sharp and cold. We do not want war, Commander. But if anyone comes for us again, we will finish it. Ralek felt a chill run down his spine. These were not tiny soldiers. These were humans, reborn, refined, unstoppable. And now, the galaxy would have to face a truth it had forgotten. Never underestimate humanity. Commander Ralek left the training valley feeling shaken. Humans, once believed weak and extinct, had evolved into something the galaxy had never seen before. Their tiny armored soldiers could outrun bullets, break war machines, and coordinate like a single living weapon. And yet, they wanted peace. But the galaxy does not always listen to reason. Ralek's ship received an urgent transmission before he even reached the landing site. A red warning light blinked rapidly. Commander, shouted his communication officer. Multiple ships entering orbit. They're not ours. Ralek's heart dropped. Which empire? Zorthan, the officer replied. A full assault group. Ralek felt a wave of dread. The Zorthan Empire would not wait for reports. They would not discuss. They would not negotiate. They had lost their pride with the destruction of the Sky Reaver fleet, and now they wanted revenge. The Zorthans had come for blood. High above the human colony, the sky split open with shimmering light as huge Zorthan warships appeared. Cruisers, carriers, bombardment vessels, an entire strike force ready for destruction. On the command ship, Admiral Viacor stood tall, his scaled skin glowing under red battle lights. Prepare all weapons, he growled. The humans humiliated us. Today, we erase them from existence. His officers hissed in agreement. Huge cannons rotated. Energy cores charged. The fleet formed a lethal formation shaped like a crushing claw. But down below, in the human command center, no one panicked. The human commander stood calmly as alarms echoed through the outpost. Officers moved swiftly, activating defenses, shifting power grids, and preparing battle protocols. Ralek entered the room breathless. Your colony is about to be destroyed. You need to evacuate. The human commander remained completely still. We warned the Zorthan Empire, he said quietly. They chose not to listen. Ralek stared at him in disbelief. You cannot fight an entire assault fleet. A faint smile touched the human commander's lips. We can. Outside, the ground trembled. The sky turned dark as the Zorthan fleet lowered into attack position. Sirens wailed across the valley. Soldiers gathered. Armored units stepped forward, their suits glowing with bright blue energy. A young human soldier approached the commander. Sir, orders? Activate EXO Protocol 10, the commander said. The soldier nodded and ran off. Ralek frowned. What is Protocol 10? The human commander looked toward the horizon where the Zorthan fleet hovered like metal predators. It means, he said, we do not hold back. Moments later, the ground cracked open as platforms rose from hidden bunkers. Hundreds of tiny exosuits marched onto the battlefield, each one glowing with controlled power. Their footstep vibrations were soft, like raindrops, but their presence felt heavier than mountains. The human commander raised his hand. A quiet command echoed through every helmet. Mini-army, prepare for engagement. The tiny soldiers moved at once, forming flawless lines and battle shapes impossible for any large species to perform. Ralek's breath caught in his throat. They're preparing to fight the entire fleet, with these tiny units. No, the commander corrected gently. They're preparing to win. In orbit, Admiral Viacor sneered at the sight of small figures gathering on the ground. Those pathetic creatures dare stand against us? Begin attack. A wave of red energy beams shot toward the valley. The ground exploded with dust and fire. But when the smoke cleared, the humans were gone. The Admiral roared. Find them. Before the Zorthan ships could adjust their senses, hundreds of blue streaks shot up from the valley like sparks from a lightning storm. Ralek's eyes widened as he watched tiny armored soldiers leap into the sky, using personal thrusters, grapplers, and acceleration technology that defied physics. The mini-army was airborne. In perfect formation. Completely silent. Moving with deadly purpose. The first human squad landed on a Zorthan cruiser with the softness of falling snow. The ship's sensors did not detect them. The soldiers split into teams, each moving toward critical weak points. Inside the cruiser, alarms finally blared. Intruders. Small units on deck. Zorthan soldiers, massive, armored beasts, rushed forward with heavy weapons. But the humans moved like shadows. One Zorthan warrior swung his plasma axe, but the human soldier slipped under it, somersaulted, and shot a tiny glowing dart at the warrior's armor joint. The giant fell instantly. Another Zorthan tried to grab a human soldier, but the soldier leaped onto his shoulder and fired into his breathing tube. In less than a minute, the entire boarding deck was silent. The human squad leader spoke calmly. Deck secured. Moving to engine core. Admiral Vacor slammed his claws on his command table. Impossible. They're insects. Crush them. But insects did not move with military perfection. Insects did not bypass shields. Insects did not disable entire ships with surgical precision. Humans did. Back on the surface, the human commander watched the battle unfold through holographic screens. Ralek stood beside him, shaking. Your people, they're everywhere. The commander nodded. They know every weak point of a ship. Every blind spot. Every flaw. On another screen, a group of humans planted small charges on a carrier's weapon core. Each charge was small, no bigger than a finger, but when triggered, they released a controlled implosion that shorted out the entire system without destroying the hull. Ralek whispered, your soldiers don't fight like an army. They move like a single organism. Exactly, the commander said. One mind. Many bodies. Within 15 minutes, the Zorthan fleet was collapsing. Weapons offline. Engines failing. Defense grids dead. Control rooms overrun. Admiral Vacor watched in horror as his mighty fleet fell apart. How are they doing this? He whispered. The answer came from behind him. A tiny armored human landed on the bridge. The admiral turned slowly. The human raised a single glowing weapon. Stand down. The admiral attacked instead. He lunged forward, claws ready to tear the tiny soldier apart. But the human simply jumped, flipped over him, and landed on his back, pressing a charge against his armor. Last warning, the human said calmly. Stand down. The admiral froze. Never before had he felt fear from something so small. Minutes later, the entire Zorthan fleet surrendered. Humans did not destroy the ships. They simply disabled them, completely, cleanly, without unnecessary death. Back on the ground, as the human soldiers returned to their outpost, Ralek finally understood the truth. This was not a battle, he whispered. This was a demonstration. The human commander nodded. We showed them what happens when they attack us. Now the galaxy will decide what happens next. He looked toward the stars, where faint smoke from the crippled Zorthan fleet drifted silently. Either they will learn, he said softly, or they will force us to teach them again. The fires in the sky faded slowly as the last of the Zorthan fleet powered down its crippled engines. Ships that once glowed with destructive power now sat silent, drifting helplessly in the cold air above the human colony. The battlefield was quiet, almost peaceful, as if the universe itself paused to understand what had just happened. Commander Ralek stood outside the human outpost, staring upward with disbelief. Only an hour ago, he had watched an unstoppable Zorthan assault force arrive with enough firepower to erase continents. Now, he saw the same force hovering like broken statues in the sky, paralyzed, defeated, and completely humbled. He turned as the human commander walked toward him, his steps calm as ever. You won the battle with almost no casualties, Ralek said quietly. How is that possible? How can a force so small disable a fleet so large? The human commander looked up at the damaged ships. Because our army is not built on size, he said. It is built on efficiency. Ralek frowned. What does that mean? Let me show you, the human commander replied. You have seen the combat. Now you will see the truth. He led Ralek and his officers into a long hallway deep inside the outpost. It was a quiet place, much quieter than the training grounds. Lights glowed softly along the ceiling, and faint vibrations hummed through the metal floor. At the end of the hall stood a heavy door with no visible handle. As the commander approached, the door opened automatically, revealing a massive underground chamber. Ralek gasped. The chamber was filled with rows and rows of small armored suits, each one standing in a charging pod. Hundreds of suits. Maybe thousands. They were lined up with perfect symmetry, glowing faint blue like sleeping giants. Except they were no giants. They were tiny. Just like the soldiers Ralek had seen fighting in the sky. This, the human commander said, is the heart of our army. Ralek walked forward slowly, studying the suits. They were smooth, compact, and built with precision that alien engineers would envy. Energy pulsed through thin channels along their limbs, and their helmets looked sleek and intelligent. They are beautiful, Ralek whispered. But, how do they work? How can a human fit inside something this small? This makes no biological sense. Exactly, the human commander replied. Because a human does not fit inside. Not physically, at least. Ralek blinked. I don't understand. Let me explain. The commander tapped a control panel. A hologram appeared in the center of the room, a human soldier standing next to a tiny exosuit. The hologram zoomed in, showing the inner structure of the suit. It wasn't hollow like normal armor. It was filled with a network of energy channels, neural links, and microcompression plates. These suits use mass compression, the human commander said. A technology we developed out of necessity when our species faced extinction. Ralek tilted his head. Mass compression? That is unstable. It can crush the occupant. It can distort the body. It can tear a being apart. Correct, the commander said. For other species. Ralek stared at him. But not for humans? The human nodded. Human biology is flexible. Adaptable in ways the galaxy does not understand. Our neural pathways can adjust to extreme changes. Our muscles and bones endure pressures that would shatter most species. He paused. And our minds can handle pain and stress better than almost anyone. Ralek felt a chill run through him. The galaxy had always mocked humans for being weak, emotional, and chaotic. But maybe those same chaotic traits made them stronger than anyone realized. The commander continued, when we first tested compression suits, many died. Many suffered. But the ones who survived, evolved. Ralek swallowed hard. Your people suffered for this technology? We had no choice, the human said softly. Our world was dying. We either adapted or disappeared. He gestured to the rows of suits. These tiny exo-units reduce our physical size while amplifying our strength, speed, and durability. They allow us to fight in environments too dangerous or too small for normal combat. They allow us to survive with minimal resources. And most importantly, he tapped the control panel again. A new hologram appeared, showing several human soldiers linking their suits into a unified energy network. They allow us to share our minds. Ralek's eyes widened. Neural linking. The human nodded. Yes. Every soldier sees what the others see. Feels what the others feel. Thinks with the speed of a full squad. One unit alone is strong. But a linked squad is unstoppable. Ralek understood now. This was why the humans moved like one organism. This was why they were so precise. This was why no alien army could match them. The human commander continued, we do not need millions of soldiers. We need a few hundred, each one enhanced, connected, and capable of fighting like an entire battalion. Ralek looked around the chamber again. The truth finally hit him. This is not a tiny army, he whispered. No, the commander replied. It only looks that way. Ralek closed his eyes. The galaxy will fear you. The commander nodded slowly. They already do. A young human officer entered the chamber, saluted the commander, and said, Sir, all Zorthan ships have been secured. No casualties on our side. Minor injuries only. Ralek stared in disbelief. You defeated them without killing them? We are not killers, the commander said. We only defend ourselves. Ralek shook his head. But the galaxy will not understand that. They will not see peace. They will see power. And they will fear it. Yes, the commander replied quietly. And fear leads to war. He walked closer to the hologram showing the exosuits. This is why we hide. This is why the galaxy was never told humans survived. Because if the galaxy knew, Ralek said, they would try to destroy you. Exactly. The commander turned away from the holograms, facing Ralek directly. Now that you know our secret, you must make a choice. Ralek's heart pounded. You can return to your people and tell them the truth, the commander said. But if you do, your empire will come back stronger. With more ships. With more armies. And you will fight again, Ralek whispered. The human nodded. And next time, we will not be so gentle. Ralek hesitated. And if I choose not to report this? The commander's expression softened. Then you give peace a chance. Ralek looked around the chamber one last time. Rows of silent exosuits glowed back at him like 1,000 watching eyes. He realized the truth, the humans did not want to rule the galaxy. They only wanted to survive it. As Ralek walked out of the chamber, one thought repeated in his mind. The tiny army is not the galaxy's greatest threat. It is humanity's greatest evolution. Ralek sat in silence as his shuttle drifted away from the human colony. The stars stretched into long glowing lines as the ship entered faster than light flight, but even the beauty of the cosmos could not quiet his thoughts. He kept replaying the images in his mind, the rows of tiny human exosuits, the glowing neural networks, the calm confidence in the human commander's voice. He had seen many weapons in his life. But never anything like this. The galaxy had always judged humans as weak, chaotic, and technologically behind. But now Ralek understood the truth, humans were not weak. They were different, dangerously different. Their adaptability made them powerful. Their resilience made them unpredictable. And their tiny army made them unstoppable. He rested his head in his hands and sighed. The galaxy is not ready for this. His co-pilot, a young Altari officer, noticed his distress. Commander, are you unwell? You have barely spoken since we left the humans. Ralek looked at him carefully. Should he tell the young officer the truth? Should he reveal the secret he promised to protect? No. Not yet. I'm fine, Ralek lied softly. Just thinking. The co-pilot nodded and returned to the controls, unaware of the storm brewing in Ralek's mind. Word of the Zorthan defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every species talked about it, every news broadcast, every military forum, every government chamber. But no one had clear information. Rumors shaped the story more than facts. Some claimed the Zorthans were ambushed by an unknown empire. Others believed a natural cosmic event destroyed their ships. And a few whispered the strangest rumor of all. The tiny army did it. No one took that rumor seriously. A tiny army defeating a battle fleet? Impossible. Absurd. A joke. Yet the rumor returned again and again, spreading faster each day. In the outer colonies, civilians laughed about it. In trading hubs, merchants told the story to entertain customers. But in military circles, the laughter stopped quickly. Because the Zorthans were humiliated. And someone, something, did it. If the Zorthans could fall, anyone could. In the Grand Chamber of the Tenerian High Council, ambassadors from 5 species debated the rumor with rising tension. Tall pillars of blue crystal shone above them, reflecting the worried faces of the delegates. We need answers, the reptilian Akesh ambassador hissed, slamming his tail on the floor. A fleet does not fall without reason. Someone attacked them. The tall, thin Visari representative shook her head. Or something. What if the rumor is true? What if a small but advanced force exists out there? That is nonsense, the feathered Arreo diplomat chirped sharply. No tiny army, no matter how advanced, could disable a fleet of that size. Technology has limits. The room erupted in arguments. Voices overlapped. Accusations filled the air. Only one person stayed silent, Ambassador Ralek, seated at the far end. He listened to them argue about possibilities, theories, and imaginary threats, while the real threat remained hidden in his mind. He felt the weight of his silence like a stone on his chest. The council leader struck the floor with a glowing rod. Order, he demanded. The room fell quiet instantly. Ambassador Ralek, you were near the battle zone. What do you believe caused the Zorthan defeat? Ralek's heart tightened. Every eye in the chamber turned toward him. The air seemed to freeze around him. He took a slow breath. He hesitated. He remembered the human commander's words. If you tell them, they will return with more armies. And next time, we will not be so gentle. Ralek looked around the room. These leaders were proud. Arrogant. Overconfident. They would never believe the truth, not until it was too late. If he revealed the secret now, the galaxy would panic. Alliances would form. Armies would mobilize. A massive war would follow. A war the humans would win, but the galaxy would not survive. Ralek finally answered, I believe, the Zorthans suffered an internal malfunction. Perhaps an energy cascade failure or a miscalculated jump. Murmurs filled the room. Some nodded. Some frowned. But no one questioned him further. The council leader sighed. Very well. We will send investigators. Ralek bowed his head, hiding the guilt in his eyes. After the meeting, the Vasari representative caught up to him in the hallway. Ralek, she said softly. You're lying. He froze. The Vasari were known for their emotional sensitivity. They could sense tension and fear almost as clearly as a human could sense temperature. I don't know what you're talking about, Ralek replied carefully. But she stepped closer, lowering her voice. Something happened on that colony. Something powerful. Something dangerous. And you're hiding it. Ralek stared at her, saying nothing. She tilted her head. If you are trying to protect someone, you may be protecting the wrong side. Ralek shook his head slowly. No. I am protecting everyone. The Vasari diplomat's eyes widened slightly at the seriousness in his tone. She realized there was more to the story, but she also sensed he would not speak a word. Be careful, Ralek, she whispered. Secrets can destroy entire civilizations. He watched her walk away, her long robes trailing behind her like streams of liquid silver. Across the galaxy, fear continued to grow. The Zorthans demanded answers. The Tenerians sent spy drones to the region. The Akesh began reinforcing their borders. The Areo started working on new weapon prototypes. The galaxy was preparing for a threat it couldn't understand. Some feared a hidden empire. Some feared ancient technology. Some feared a new predator species. But none of them feared the truth. Humans were alive. They were evolving. And they were no longer small. Meanwhile, back on the human colony, the commander stood overlooking the training grounds. The tiny soldiers moved with incredible speed as they practiced formation links, their suits glowing softly in the setting sun. A young soldier approached him. Sir, long-range scanners show increased activity along multiple borders. More ships. More probes. The commander nodded slowly. They're searching for us. Yes, sir, the soldier replied. What should we do? The commander looked at the horizon, where sunlight painted the mountains gold. His eyes were calm, but underneath that calmness lay the weight of responsibility. We stay hidden, he said. And we prepare. Prepare for war, the soldier asked. The commander shook his head. No, he said. Prepare for the day the galaxy finally realizes the truth, and panics. Far away, inside the shuttle returning to his homeworld, Ralek stared into the stars. Fear was spreading. Rumors were growing. The galaxy was changing. And he knew, without any doubt, that one day soon, all species would face a choice. Fear humanity, or join them. Ralek's ship approached his homeworld, drifting through layers of soft blue clouds as sunrise touched the surface below. But instead of feeling relief, he felt only a deeper sense of pressure. The galaxy was changing. Fear was spreading. And he carried a secret powerful enough to reshape every civilization. As the shuttle landed, military officers lined up in formation to greet him. They saluted sharply, expecting a report that could decide the future of their empire. But Ralek's steps were slow, deliberate. His mind was still on the humans, their tiny exosuits, their unity, their silent strength. He knew he had a responsibility to his people. But he also knew the truth. Exposing the humans would start a war no one would survive. Inside the High Command briefing room, holographic maps shone across the table. Borders flashed red where tensions were rising. Drones from several empires had mysteriously vanished near the human region. The Zorthans demanded reparations. The Akesh were mobilizing. And the Tenerians were building defense satellites at a speed no one had seen before. The galaxy believed something powerful was hiding out there. Something that defeated a fleet. Something dangerous. Ambassador Ralek, General Torvak said, his voice stern. You were closest to the Zorthan battle. We need the truth. What did you see? Every officer in the room turned to him. Ralek took a deep breath. I saw destruction, he answered carefully. Something disabled the Zorthan ships. But I did not see the attacker clearly. A murmur spread across the room. General Torvak narrowed his eyes. You expect us to believe you? You were the only witness. Ralek nodded. And I am telling you what I know. But Torvak slammed his hand on the table. Something is out there. And we need to strike first before it reaches us. Ralek looked around the room. Every officer's expression was a mix of fear and anger. They didn't care who the enemy was, they just wanted to eliminate the unknown. This was exactly what the human commander feared. Ralek spoke quietly, a preemptive attack will start a war. One our people might not win. Torvak scowled. You speak like someone who knows the enemy. Ralek's jaw tightened. I know that rushing into battle without understanding the threat is foolish. Torvak leaned forward. Then enlighten us. What exactly are we facing? Ralek lowered his eyes. He could not reveal the humans. Not yet. Maybe not ever. All I can say, Ralek replied, is that the galaxy must choose diplomacy over fear. If we attack the unknown, we risk destroying ourselves. The room fell silent. Some officers looked thoughtful. Others looked suspicious. But no one pushed further. Finally, the meeting ended, and Ralek left, his shoulders heavy from the weight of his lies. Meanwhile, on the hidden human colony, the commander monitored several holoscreens showing fleet movements across the galaxy. Lines of red signals indicated increased patrols, surveillance drones, and new weapon tests. The galaxy was not simply afraid, it was preparing for conflict. A soldier stepped beside him. Sir, multiple borders are activating war protocols. Should we relocate our colony? The commander shook his head. Not yet. Moving now will reveal our presence. And we still lack enough resources to support another base. The soldier hesitated. What if they find us? The commander looked at the tiny troops training on the ground, glowing suits sprinting with superhuman speed, linking neural networks so fluidly it looked like one organism instead of many. If they find us, he said quietly, we will defend ourselves. But we will not strike first. The soldier nodded. Humans had a strange way of thinking. They could fight like demons, yet still prefer peace over bloodshed. Days passed. Then weeks. Then the galaxy made its move. An alliance formed, 6 species joining forces, calling themselves the Celestial Union for Security. Their leaders broadcast a message across known space. We will investigate the unknown threat. For the safety of the galaxy, we must act together. Ships began gathering in massive numbers. Giant carriers. Scout vessels. War cruisers. This wasn't just investigation, it was preparation for war. They still did not know who the enemy was, yet they armed themselves anyway. Fear made them powerful. Fear also made them blind. Ralek watched the alliance grow with worry. He knew the humans would see these movements. And if the humans felt cornered, they would activate their tiny army, an army capable of destroying entire fleets through precision and unity. He had to act. One night, Ralek contacted the human commander through a secret communication channel he had kept hidden from his own government. The commander appeared in a shimmering blue hologram. You took a risk contacting me, the commander said. I had no choice, Ralek replied. The galaxy is forming an alliance. A military one. They're searching for you. The commander was silent for a moment. Then he sighed. I knew this day would come. They don't know it's you, Ralek continued. But the fear is growing. If they find your colony, they will attack first. The commander nodded slowly. And if that happens, we will defend ourselves. You know what that means. Ralek closed his eyes. A war that will shatter everything. The human's voice softened. You kept our secret. You tried to protect peace. You have my respect. Ralek swallowed hard. Is there any way we can stop this? Yes, the commander replied. But it requires trust, trust from the galaxy. And trust from us. What do you mean? Ralek asked. The commander leaned forward. We reveal ourselves. Ralek's breath caught. Are you mad? The galaxy will panic. They believe humans died centuries ago. Your survival alone will shake history. Yes, the commander said. But staying hidden will only make them fear us more. Fear creates war. Truth might create peace. Ralek shook his head. Or it might create chaos. True, the commander said. But chaos is better than extinction. Ralek realized the humans were ready. They were done hiding. And the galaxy would soon learn the truth. 1 week later, every major communication channel across the galaxy suddenly shifted. All screens flickered, all signals froze, and a single broadcast took over. A human appeared. A real human. Strong. Calm. Alive. To the species of the galaxy, he said. We are the humans you believed extinct. We have survived. We seek peace. Not war. Shock spread across the galaxy like a storm. We do not want to rule. We do not want to destroy. We only want to live. Then the broadcast ended. No threats. No warnings. Just truth. On every world, leaders gathered in panic. Some wanted immediate war. Others demanded negotiation. But the galaxy could no longer hide behind rumors. Humans were real. Alive. Powerful. And they wanted peace. Back on the human colony, the commander turned off the broadcast relay. A soldier approached him. "Sir, what happens now?" The commander looked toward the horizon. "Now," he said softly, "the galaxy must make a choice. Fear us. Or join us. And that choice would decide the future of every species, forever."